All right, everyone, welcome back. We'll continue the second half of our session today. Okay, let's quickly see what we have done so far. I'm sharing the screen from my whiteboard. Okay. What have we done? We have created a virtual machine and we have seen how to access it, right? So this is what you need to understand. If it is a Windows Server VM, Windows Server, how you access it, and if it is a Linux server, how you access Linux server, right? So in order to access Windows Server, you need a utility called RDP. Sorry, RDP. That's the default. This is the utility which is available on every Windows operating system. So you can't use the browser to access it. Access your server remotely. You have to use RDP utility, and you need to have username and password in order to access it. And definitely, you need an IP address. At least you should know IP address of the host name. If it is a internal server in your own environment, if you have a DNS configured, you can use the host name to access the server, or you need a private IP. So private, which IP you need? If you're accessing it internally, you need the private IP. If you're accessing it over the internet, you need the public IP address. You need to know the public IP address of the server. Similarly, when it comes to the Linux server, accessing it remotely, you need a utility called SSH client. You need either username and password. While creating the VM, Linux VM, we have seen that we can use the username password, or we can also use, or we can use username plus the key for accessing the Linux server. And again, you definitely need to know the IP address of the VM, IP address, or the hostname of the server. And same again, private IP if you're accessing internally. Sorry, private IP address, or you need the public IP address if you're accessing it over the internet. So we've seen how we can access it and control access to a virtual machine using the network security rule, the network NSG rule, which we created on our virtual machine. Okay, let's get back
Excuse
to
me,
the,
sir.
yes.
In the network security, we created the rule for one person, is it, sir? We can create a rule for the group of persons.
Exactly, you can do that. You can add
Okay, sir.
multiple IP addresses. You can,
We can give access to multiple persons.
yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
You just need to understand how you can do it. And in the real-time scenarios, first of all, as you have seen that there's a recommendation that you should not be accessing your server over the internet using the public IP addresses. That's the general recommendation for security hygiene and the best practice. So now we are going to see, okay, if you don't assign the IP address, if you don't access this VM, if it doesn't have a public IP, how do we access the virtual machine? Because these virtual machines are remote for us. They are deployed in Microsoft data center somewhere in the globe as per your selection of region. East US, what we have seen is where the virtual machine is deployed, and there's no other mean of accessing it apart from internet, right? So now we'll see how we can access. Let's see how we can access the Linux VM first. Then we'll see what is the secure way or mechanism of accessing the VMs over the internet. I'm going back to this lab again where we left. Right. So let's get back to this. Now we have seen how to access the Windows virtual machine. Let's look at how we can access the Linux virtual machine, right? I'm going to my Linux virtual machine. Which one is that? That is my VM. Okay. Again, you will have all the details related to your virtual machine here. All the settings which you have created are configured. And here you have the action buttons as well. What do you want to do with this virtual machine? You want to connect to it. You want to start it is grayed out because it's already running. You want to restart the VM. You can stop the VM. And when the VM is not in use, it's always best to stop it. That means it will stop your billing cycle. The meter will stop. And you can capture. You can create a snapshot. We'll see that later. And let's look at the access, how we can access it. So again, this has got a public IP assigned to this VM, the Linux VM. And let's go ahead and connect. Click on connect. Again, it gives you the information that, okay, you're using native SSH. This is your local IP. That's the IP address which we have on our network access, our internet access from our ISP. And this is our virtual, the public IP of our virtual machine. And which port you can connect? You can connect on port 22. Let's look at the energy rules if the rules are already there in place to allow this access. It's taking a while. While it's okay, it is right. So it shows you that the port 22 is accessible from all the sources basically. It's not restricted by default. It's enabled for everyone to access. Now, how can we access it? It has given you the command, SSH command. So you can use your Windows command line utility to access this server using this command particularly, or you can use the SSH utility. I'll show you both. Let me go to the command line utility, CLI. Okay. Right. So I have my command line utility running here. It will make it smaller. Okay, so what all we need here? You look at this command. So you can use the command SSH -I, and here it is asking you the private key file path. You remember we downloaded a private key while we were creating the VM. So it creates two keys, public key and the private key. Public key will be stored on the server itself, and private key should be downloaded and should be with you and stored in a safe and secure location. And what is the username? We created the username while creating the VM. And what are we doing here? We are connecting to the public IP of our virtual machine. So here we are not defining port 22 because SSH by default it picks up the port 22. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this and go to the command line here. Now I need to definitely replace this with the file path where I have stored my key. So where is my key? Let me look for it. It's on my desktop. So I'll do one thing. I'll move it to a easier location where where I can pick it up easily. This PC. Okay, let me do it here. Okay, so I'm actually saving my key in this location. So that's the location. It's on my E drive on my PC. E drive, my keys, and this is my private key. I need to mention the path of this. So I'll say copy path. Do I have an option here? Copy as path. Okay. Okay, so I'll put the path here. So now you can see that you're mentioning the command ssh-i, and this is where I have my private key stored, and this is my username, and this is the IP address of the server, public IP address of my Linux server, and hit enter. And here it prompts you a message, fingerprint SSH256. This key is not known by other names. Okay. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? So this is a mechanism to verify, to confirm with you that you are connecting to the right server. I'll say yes, that's my server. And here you have some issue. What is that? To open. It is required that your private key files are not accessible by others. See, it is giving you some instructions because this private key is really important for you. Anyone who is having this private key can access your virtual machine. This private key will be ignored. Why? Because it has bad permissions. So it says bad permissions. Now, what permission should be assigned to it? Permission denied. So let's see what are the permissions are required. Okay, let's try another way of doing it. Accessing. This is the command line access. As I told you, you can also access your Linux server using the any SSH client. Putty is one of them. Putty download this. You can download it. It's a free of course. Utility free SSH telnet client. Download it here, and this is the file I need. So this is purpose-built client, which is developed for SSH access. You can of course use the CLI command line interface as well. Why does it take so long? It's a small file. Okay, it's downloaded. What we can do is we can just simply run it or install it. We can. I'm opening it. So you need. Yeah, it is asking you to install. Okay, it's already installed on my machine. Okay, so it's a simple process. You can install it on your own machines. So once you have this putty installed, you can simply go to the search and look for that program. I'm just running it here on my machine. It will come up with this prompt. This is the putty tool. So now I will copy my public IP address. So here you have to mention the IP. As I told you, you need either the host name or IP address of the server which you are trying to access, and it will be accessing over port 22, and the protocol will be, the connection type will be SSH. Now, where is the key we are defining? So there should be an option here to define the keys, SSH keys. Not here. Let me see. Authentication. There's an option to define the keys. We need to define which key to use for accessing this. Okay. Should be here. Authentication, credentials, private key. Exactly. So you go to the private key, and I'm going to select my key here. It's an E drive. My keys, and that's the file I need. So I will click on OK. So I get this prompt. I'll say accept, and I get this prompt to login. Now I use Azure admin. That's my username. No supported authentication method available. There's some issue with the key. Okay, let me just check what is the issue. Maybe it's related to the permission. It has some specific instructions to set the permission on this file. So let me just quickly check this. So we'll come back to this at the end. What we'll do is we'll continue with our other lab, which is the Bastion host. Just hang on a minute. Can you also try if you have created the virtual machine from your side? Or just wait for me to look for this. Let's quickly look at the error so that we can continue in the flow. After this, we'll be doing the Azure, Bastion service, Azure Bastion service. Okay, it says remove the permission for all the users. Let's go to this file again. My keys. These are the permissions of this file. Here you can see authenticated users. Everyone will have access to this. Let's remove this authenticated users. Can I remove? It's not removable because it's inheriting the permissions. Okay. Let's try to do this again. Permission denied. Okay, if it doesn't work in next attempt, we'll continue the lab. I'll show you this tomorrow morning, inshallah. Let's go back to the Azure. Okay, it says okay. Um, I'm just giving it a last try. We can continue after that. Okay, let's see this. So the command is here from Azure. Where's the command? Okay, what does it say? Okay, execute below command in your choice of local shell to connect via SSH. Provide a path to your SSH private key file on your local machine. Okay.
Check access. That can
Access.
you try? Check access is button there.
Yes. That's about the only the firewall rule.
Okay.
We've done that already. This is about, particularly about the permission. So let's try this again. I've changed some permissions on the file. Copy as path. Okay. All right. Yes, we are in the Linux shell. You can see the dollar prompt is the proof that you are now logged into your server. Which server? The Linux server which is running on Microsoft Cloud. ls-l, there's nothing. There are no directories, nothing. Uh, oh, and I am the Azure admin. And that's it. We are in the Linux shell now. Got it? So it's basically about the permission on the file. The private key file, as it says, it is the key to your server. You have to keep it in a secure location, and it is checking when you're accessing it. You're checking. It is checking that you have the right permissions assigned to this particular file. So this is a Windows security permission setting, wherein your system should have at least read access. Administrators and the user which I'm using on this machine should have the modify access at least. So now this file has proper access permissions, and I'm able to log into my Linux server, and this is my Linux server prompt. So if config doesn't work on this Linux, okay, it might be having a different command. Okay, so these are the commands which you can run on your Linux machine, right? So this is the way you can access your server. If it is a Windows server, use the RDP. Let's try accessing it with the putty program, the application which we downloaded. Let's do the same again. I need the public IP of my VM. I'll copy this, and where's the key? Authentication, credentials, and I'm defining my key, private key. It's here in this location. Okay. So now I'm getting login as Azure admin. That's my username, and no supported authentication method available. Okay. I'm not sure what is the error. I'll show you this. I'll definitely explain you why we are getting it. We can figure out. But you have seen now from the command line, Windows command line, how you can access the Linux server over your Azure cloud. Okay, let's carry on. Now those are the two methods we have seen. Now we'll see uh, a secure way of accessing the virtual machines, and that you can do with the help of Azure Bastion service. So there's a lab for that. Azure, yes, there is a lab. Let's look at that. Yes. Right. So this will be a quick run through again with to see how the Bastion service works in the real time scenarios. So let's go through this. This tutorial helps you configure dedicated deployment of Azure Bastion to your virtual machine network from the Azure portal using these settings and SKU of your choice. Okay, the SKU, we don't want to go through that. Okay, Bastion is deployed. You can use SSH or RDP to connect virtual machines in the virtual network via Bastion using the private IP address of the VMs. When you connect to the VM, it does not need a public IP address. This is our objective. Why we are using Bastion? We are using it to reduce the exposure of our virtual machines. This is a scenario again. You can see the diagram. So we do not want our virtual machine to have a public IP directly assigned and accessible over the internet. That's not a good practice. So what we are doing, we are introducing something called Azure Bastion. It is a service. Okay, it's a Microsoft service. So there's a specific configuration you have to do. You have to create Azure Bastion subnet. We'll see those settings steps right now. And what will happen? You will be, as a user, you will connect to the Azure portal. From Azure portal, you'll basically use the browser now. Now here you're not using SSH client or RDP client to connect to your virtual machines. You're using the browser. Through browser, you can connect to Azure Bastion. It will connect to Azure Bastion in reality, and then Azure Bastion will do a private connection in the background. So it will connect to the virtual machines over the private IPs. So you can remove the public IPs from this virtual machines, right? So this is what we'll see. So you have a virtual network. Within the virtual network, we have a subnet. Uh, this is what we have right now. We have two VMs instead of three, and we have the private IPs assigned to these VMs, and there are public IPs also assigned to it. So now what we are going to do is we are going to implement this Azure Bastion. So I'm explaining what the diagram means. Okay. So now deploy Bastion to your virtual network. Let's go through this. And there are prerequisites. Okay, virtual network, we have already network and everything. We have the virtual machines also. So we'll straight away go to the Bastion. So in the portal, now go to the virtual network. It says in the step 2, go to the virtual network. So we are going to go to the virtual network, right? Okay. And in the virtual network, on the page of your virtual network, in the left pane, select Bastion. What is the meaning of Bastion? Bastion actually in English means fortress, it seems. It's like a security boundary. So here now we're going to create new Bastion. I already have few here. I don't remember when I created it. Okay, let's create a new one. Create Bastion. On the Bastion pane, dedicated deployment options show configure manually button. Okay, so what we're doing is, again, this is the Azure resource, so we have to decide in which subscription you're going to deploy it and which resource group we are going to deploy. So test RG is the one which we are using for this lab, and name of this service. So now here, if you go configure manually, okay, create Bastion page, we are already here. Name of this Bastion service. Specify the name that you want to use for your Bastion resource. So we can say, okay, name it VNet1 Bastion. You can name it anything. That's not a problem. Okay, it says the name must begin with a letter. Is it not letter? Okay, there was a space, right? Region, select the region. We have done that already. Availability zone. We are not. Okay, it's by default selected all zones. There are three zones in that region where where we are deploying it. Tier, standard tier. We are going with the standard tier. Where is the tier? Instant come. Standard tier. Yes. There are different options. Developer tier is the one which is free of cost. It does not cost you anything. So we can go with the developer one, but it will have limited options. And which virtual network we're going to connect? Our virtual network is this one, VNet. Is this the one? Or it is creating a new one? Let's look at the virtual network, which one we are referring to. Otherwise, it will not work. So we need to tell which virtual network you want to connect to. Okay. Virtual network. Right. So which is our virtual network? Test RG. This is our virtual network. That's the name of the virtual network we are using. So I think it's already selected that virtual network. West US 2, right? Sorry. VNet East US. VNet East US. Not very here. See, there's some mismatch in the configuration. Subscription is right. Resource group is right. This one should be right as well. West US. Okay, this might be the problem. So our network is in East US. See, I'm creating the Bastion host. I'm trying to create Bastion host in a different region. So it is not happening. It is creating a new virtual network. Now we can see our virtual network. This is our virtual network. VNet is US2, and it will create the subnet by itself, Azure Bastion subnet. You don't have to create the subnet. Okay. So where's the lab? Okay, fine. So let's carry on. Configure the virtual network region. For subnet, if you already have a subnet configured in your virtual network that is named Azure Bastion. This is important. Now a subnet it will create a separate subnet for Azure Bastion. If you already have a subnet created, you should name it exactly as this. Then only Microsoft Bastion service will work. Otherwise, it won't work. So this is a very important point to remember. Or if you're creating through the wizard, it will automatically create a subnet with its name. So you can see it is already creating the subnet with this name. And the next thing is, okay, if you don't create one, create Azure Bastion, manage host, subnets. It's going to create the subnet now. Review and create. That's it. Okay. So the Azure Bastion service is created. It will be created now. So after that, you can verify. Says public IP section is where you configure the public IP address for Bastion host resource. Okay, we are not assigning the IP address. So it is actually giving you the option to create, explaining you the manual process of creating the Azure Bastion subnet. So if you don't create it with the wizard, what we have done now, it is asking, is giving you the exactly step-by-step procedure of creating the Azure Bastion subnet. So you can try that on your lab. We'll see here the Bastion subnet is created. Go to the resource. That is our Bastion subnet. Now what we can do, let's see. So you need to understand the purpose why we are doing it and the advantage of doing it. So now in our ECUs, in our network, virtual network, VNet, we have the Bastion service created. VNet Bastion 1 is created. Okay, so now let's try accessing the virtual machines. I'll see the difference. So I'm going to the virtual machines again. And I'm going to my, let's say, Windows Server first. So you have an option. I told you you can connect using this option. With this option, you need the RDP. You have to use the RDP tool utility to access the Windows Server. Or now let's connect with as via Bastion. So we have already seen this. The first method, we'll see the second method now. Now it says that Azure Bastion protects your virtual networks, you can see, by secure and seamless RDP and SSH connectivity without the need to expose them through public IP addresses. Deploying will automatically create a Bastion host and a subnet in your virtual network. We already deployed, right? We deployed again. Bastion, let's see. It's creating another Bastion host, Bastion now, which we didn't need that. We didn't need to create that. Now, can we have two Bastion services for the same virtual network? I'm not sure. Let's see. There's an option to configure manually as well. Let's quickly look at our Bastion service which we created. I guess it might fail because it uses the same name for creating the subnet. Subnet, where is the Bastion? This is the one which we created. Okay. Is there any other configuration required? Let's look at the lab. Okay. Right. So configure the virtual network settings, subnet. Okay, we have got this. We already went through the subnet creation. Create Azure Bastion from the drop-down. The specified name is Azure Bastion. Okay, enter the starting address. I think it already did that part automatically. Come on, what's happening? Okay, so it did something. Right, let's follow the steps. We'll see what comes next. So at the top of the subnet pane, using the create Bastion. Why we are creating Bastion again? Okay. Create a Bastion. Okay. Create a Bastion. Bastion is already created. You can see the developer tier offers free secure RDP SSH connectivity to one VM at a time. Okay, this is the limitation. If you are having multiple VMs, you can't access all those at the same time if you choose the developer tier. Let me go back to the virtual machines again and see what happened here. My VM. My VM is a Linux VM. And let's try to connect with the Bastion. Okay, it is still deploying, it seems. Deployment is not done yet. Bastion is still under deployment, so we'll Okay, we'll revisit this after our slides. So definitely we'll see that how the Bastion makes a difference in order to access the VMs through internet. Let's get back to our slides. Setup availability set. Now, what is availability set? We have seen that in the previous sessions. Put multiple VMs in availability set for redundancy. So separate each application tier into its own availability sets. Use a load balancer together with availability set for high availability. Use manage disk for better reliability and performance. Now, what is availability set? That's what you need to understand first. We have already seen this. Does anyone know what is an availability set? It's a it's actually more than one virtual machine which is deployed across the fault domain and the update domain. They're deployed in two different fault domains and update domains. So if you recall, we have discussed this. I'll explain you quickly what is the availability set. We have the explanation going forward. So this is what it is. Update and fault domain. In availability set, we have a concept of update domain and the fault domain. Fault domain prevent hardware failures like the impact of potential physical hardware failure, network outages, or power interruption. So I explained you earlier, the fault domain is nothing but it's like a cabinet, one particular rack or the cabinet where you have all your servers and the virtual machines, sorry, the server network and the storage component installed. So this is one cabinet, which is referred to as a fault domain in Azure terminology. This is another cabinet. So one rack that share common power source and network switch. So this is what it actually comes out. So a single cabinet with a power source and the network connectivity. Maximum 3 fault domain per availability set, by default 2. So you can choose maximum 3 to deploy the virtual machines across maximum 3 fault domains. That means 3 different racks. Update domain maximum 20. Update domains default is 5. Update domains indicates group of virtual machines and underlying physical hardware that can be rebooted at the same time. Right, the important point to remember is the order of update domains being rebooted may not proceed sequentially during plant maintenance. This helps actually in case of the plant maintenance and the unforeseen outages. Or only so it says, but only one update domain is rebooted at a time. A rebooted update domain is given 30 minutes to recover before maintenance is initiated on a different update domain. So I will explain you on the whiteboard again quickly. I guess you might have forgotten about this, but let's do a quick recap so you understand what we are talking about. This matters when you're deploying the virtual machines. Again, you have an option to create availability set. So all the points I'll try to replicate here on the whiteboard. Let me share the screen. Okay. I'm sharing the same one again. All right. We're back to the whiteboard. Are you able to see it?
No, we are not able to see it.
No, there's some issue with the sharing here. Whiteboard. Okay, I think now you should be able to see it. Right?
Yes, yes.
So let's talk about the update domain and the fault domain. So basically, you know that in a data center, you have multiple cabinets. Okay. So in each cabinet, there is a network component, network device. There are servers as well, physical host servers, which we discussed. server 1, server 2, for example. These are the host servers where your VMs will be created. So this is like a network and a server 1, server 2. Okay. And each cabinet has a power source. There's a power supply coming to this cabinet, which will be distributed among all the devices. And there will be a common network connectivity to the core network. So this will be this scenario. In the background, what's happening? We'll have a network access, bigger network connecting to the building. Now, when you're creating the virtual machine, now this is all behind the scene, right? This is your data center. There's something which is not visible to you. But while you're creating the virtual machine, it gives you an option to choose a number of fault domains and number of update domain. So this will be applicable if you're creating more than one VM, correct? If it is one VM, you can't distribute that one single VM across two different cabinets. So in reality, what is happening when you're creating a virtual machine, it's actually being created on one of the server. The VM is created here, and it is running on this particular server because the compute, the CPU, RAM, and everything it is using from this. This is a physical server and physical RAM, physical host server. So your virtual machine is running on this. Now, in case of power failure, if there's an issue with this particular cabinet, this is a fault domain. This Microsoft calls it as fault domain. The cabinet itself, fault domain. Okay, and this particular server, for example, they call it as update domain. Right? So the VM is automatically part of the fault domain and update domain by default. So when you're deploying more than one VM, let's say I'm deploying two virtual machines for a common service. In the real-time scenarios, if I'm hosting a web server, so I will at least create two virtual machines for the web server for high availability, right? I'm creating two virtual machines for the web server. This is my web server 1. This is web server 2. And similarly, I'll create two virtual machines for my database server. So if you know the web server architecture, it's a very typical scenario where you'll have the front-end server and the back-end server, right? And there'll be an application server as well. So if it is a three-tier application architecture, you'll have a front-end, middleware, and the backend, the database server. So if I'm deploying these two VMs, I'll deploy this as one availability set. So I'll say availability set, AV set 1. Okay. So what will happen? Your VMs will be distributed across the fault domains. So one VM will be created here, which you cannot really see physically, and one VM will be created here. So your VMs are distributed. So the web server 1 is here on this in this cabinet in this server, and the other VM is running in this cabinet and this particular server. Similarly, this is the best practice. If you are having these two database components, two servers, you can also create another VM set, availability set 2, and deploy it. So the VMs will be distributed again similarly. Let's say this is where you're running your DB server 2, DB server 1, right? So this is what Microsoft recommends you when you're deploying more than one VM, which are playing the same role. For example, this is the application server, web server. You have two web servers which will have the identical configuration and the content. So you deploy that as one availability set so that it will be distributed. So it is all happening in the background. You are not choosing which cabinet it should go to, which particular server in which cabinet. But in the background, it is all maintained and taken care by Microsoft. So this will ensure the high availability of the virtual machines. So with your services will be highly available. So if this particular rack is completely down, let's say you lose power and the network to this rack. So your VM, one of the VM from your availability set is still running here, and 1 DB component still running here. So your application will still be functional. So definitely Microsoft has their own SLAs. They will take care of this failure. They will fix it up before even this one goes down, right? So that's all happening in the background. Here, you just need to understand what is the fault domain and what is the update domain. So this is in case of the failure. What if there's a planned maintenance? So this is the worst case scenario, the disaster. One particular rack is completely gone due to some external factor, power cut or network cable cut or the disconnection. So this can happen. This is that's why they call it as a fault domain. Now, update domain is helpful for Microsoft when in terms of maintenance of these servers. So when you have the server, every now and then we keep getting the updates even for our own smartphones, to keep your system software up to date and make sure that you're safe from the viruses or infections, whatever goes on in the internet. So similarly, every device which is connected to the network or the internet keeps getting the updates. So if it is a planned maintenance, let's say Microsoft is updating this particular server. So okay, this server is part of your update domain. So they might reboot this server, right? After installing the updates, they will reboot this server. So what will happen? This virtual machine will not be available, right? In this case, you have availability set so that the VM which is running here on a different server will still be up and running and available. So these are two different concepts of fault domain and update domain. So this is all happening in the background, but when you're creating the virtual machine, you have to define how many in the availability set, how many numbers you can define these the file domains and the update domain. I'm going back to the slides again. While we create the virtual machines, we'll see that you can see here there's a sample here given. I'm sharing the screen again. Okay, so this is one of the sample where you can see you can create availability set, right? And you can define full fault domain, how many numbers you want. Means your virtual machines will be distributed across two cabinets, two different racks, and the maximum you have a limit. An update domain means across different servers in each cabinets. There are different numbers. Now again, it depends on how many virtual machines you're deploying. Now, if you're deploying only two virtual machines, it won't make any sense to choose three here, because two virtual machines cannot be deployed across three cabinets, right? Three different fault domains. So we'll see that now. We'll go through the slides. So you have the concept of fault domain and the update domain. So maximum fault domains you can have is 3, and maximum update domain you can have is 20. So these options you can see while creating the virtual machine scale set. Okay, now touch again revising some of the topics keeps repeating in all the slides. We have touched base all this earlier, so we'll quickly go through this. We know what is availability set. It's nothing but a data center, the physical data center of Microsoft Azure. That they call it as availability zone. So separate physical location within a region. Each has its own power, cooling, and network. Now, one particular availability zone can be having one or more data center within the close proximity. Each has its own power cooling network, protects you if one data center fails, right? So that's the availability zone. It can be a single data center itself, or it can be more than one data center within a particular location. And what does it do? It helps, it gives you more availability, SLA, 99.99% availability, right? So next, we have also seen this one, vertical to horizontal scaling, right? What is vertical scaling? Vertical scaling means giving a single VM. 1 second, wait. My daughter keeps asking me when are you going to beach. Okay, so vertical scaling, you know that vertical scaling is basically adding up the resources on the same server. You're increasing the size, the CPU, RAM, and the other resources. So you have different sizes. When you increase the size of the virtual machine, that is called vertical scaling. And horizontal scaling is basically adding up the numbers, adding up additional servers. We have already seen this. Okay, now we are here at connection. We have already seen this. We connect to Windows Server using the RDP. Apart from RDP, there's another way of connecting to the Windows Server using the WinRM. This is the command line utility of Windows. We'll see this as well. So, but we have seen RDP already, and then we have also seen how to connect to the Linux virtual machine, right? So Linux virtual machine authenticate with SSH key, public key, or password. SSH is an encrypted connection protocol that allows secure logins over unsecure connections. There are public and private keys, right? So I'll explain you. Just given you an analogy how the public key and private key functions in accessing the server, right? We have seen that here in this example. So why public key? Why this is called public key? Because it should be accessible. It should be visible to everyone. It's just the same lock and the key analogy which you use in the real time. The lock is on your door or the gate, which can be seen by everyone, which is accessible to everyone, but only the person who has a key can enter that particular premises, right? The same concept goes here. The public key can be shared with anyone. It doesn't really make your system vulnerable, but in this scenario, the virtual machine will have a public key stored locally, which is like which functions like a lock by itself, and a private key which will function as a key to that to open that lock, which you can download and you can store in a safe place. So we have seen how we can connect to a virtual machine, Linux virtual machine specifically, with the help of key without providing the password. So this is an alternative authentication mechanism, you can say, for the Linux servers. So you have two options of logging into the server. If it is a Windows server, it's just a username password which you use. If it is a Linux server, you use you can use the username password, or you can also use the key, public key and the private key to access that server, right? So I guess that's everything from the slides for today. Yes, so that's the end of the slides. We'll just quickly look at the Bastion service, what happened to it, then we can wrap up the session today. I'm going back to the lab. It's updating. Why it is still updating? We'll just see this and end our session in 10 minutes. So the network connection is slow here. Right. So I'm going back to my virtual machine. Any virtual machine, Windows Server, let's see. So let's connect via Bastion. Right, our Bastion service is now ready. So sorry, I closed it by mistake.
You cannot see your screen.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm sharing it.
No whiteboard you can see.
On the same screen. I'm sharing this. 1 second. Let me stop and share again. Okay. Here we go. Now you can see it. Right. So
Yes.
I'm going to the virtual machine now. I'm again on the virtual machines section. And this I'm going to click on the server, Windows server, which we created. And now I'm going to use the option, second option, connect via Bastion. And here it gives me the option, connection settings. Now, since this is a Windows server, we will be using RDP 43389. And here you have to provide your username password, your Windows Server username password. And I'm providing my password here. And that's it, you're in the server. So you're now accessing see what has changed. First of all, I'm not using my RDP utility from the Windows machine. And secondly, I'm not specifying any public IP anywhere of my server. I'm just using the Bastion service from Microsoft, and it has logged me in to the Windows server over the browser in the HTTPS access. Right now, let's also check the other server, our Linux server. If you can access that, my VM.
How we can access from on-prem to cloud?
I'll explain you in a minute.
Okay.
Let's look at this. Okay. So now SSH. How do we connect with SSH? We have to use the keys, right? So we have the username, but we don't have the password. Let's click on connect. The value cannot be empty, but this is not a Linux Windows server where I can give the password. It give me an option to use a key. Let's see if it is a Linux VM. Yeah, it is a Linux VM. Connect via the Bastion SSH 422. Okay, here we have the key option. SSH private key from my local file. The username is Azure admin. And here I have to define give my key. What is the key? It's nothing but a file, a private key which is stored on my machine. That's my key. Right? Let's connect. And I am on my Linux virtual machine. Right? So now let's see. We have not removed the public IPs from our virtual machines. We have just seen we are now able to access our virtual machine through Bastion. That's very good. But now we do not want our virtual machines to have any public IPs and be accessible over internet. Okay. So I'm going to the virtual machine now. Where is it? So did you see the difference? Even to the Linux virtual machine, we did not use our command line interface or any third-party SSH client utility. We are connecting directly from the browser itself. So I'm going to the virtual machine now. I want to remove the public IP address for it. Okay, I'll see how we can do that. I'm not. I think there are some settings which have changed in the interface. The objective was to show you how the Bastion works without exposing your virtual machines, without knowing your public IP address of the virtual machines. You can access your services. Now, Khaja, coming back to your question, how to access the Azure virtual machines right from the on-prem scenario.
Yes.
And I've already explained that in the session today, I guess. So let me go here somewhere. Where was it? Okay, you tell me one thing. If I have on-prem scenario, how do I connect to my Azure? What are the options we have to connect to the Azure? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Does
Over
anyone
the
know?
portal, we can
No.
access.
Not over the port. I'm not talking about over the port. You have your on-prem scenario. This is very important for you to understand now. Okay.
Okay.
I have my on-prem setup. This is my on-prem. You're still able to see the screen, right? I have my servers, my local servers here, domain controller, file server, or application server, whatever it is. And I have my cloud, which is the Azure cloud. And I deployed some virtual machines here. Windows server, Linux server. Now, there
A
won't be any
VPN or express route, sir?
Yes, there won't be any connectivity between these two environments. Just consider that this is your on-prem data center and this is your on-cloud data center. Okay, I'll call it on-cloud data center. You have servers deployed here, you have servers deployed here. Now, how do you access it? As an administrator, I have shown you how you can access and manage these virtual machines. Either you can do RDP, okay, if it is a Windows
Yes.
server, or you can do SSH,
Yeah.
if it is a Linux server, right? And this is all happening over the internet,
Yes.
right? There's no angle of on-prem DC here. So this you can do over the internet. If you have your only Azure infrastructure. Now I'm an administrator. I'm admin of this organization, which is having on-prem data center as well, where there are servers. So if I'm the admin here, now wherever I'm having the laptop, I have internet access. This is my admin user. Locally, I can again, if it is a Linux server, I will be using, if it is a Windows server, I will be using RDP utility to access my server. If it is a Linux, I'll be using SSH. But with the private IP address, right? I need to know the IP address of this server.
Yes. Yes.
Here also same. But here I need to know the public IP of the virtual machines, not the private, because private IP won't be accessible over internet, right? This is clear. I need a public IP assigned on each virtual machine. Correct? Clear, Khaja?
Yes. Yes.
This is particular for you. Now, if I have this scenario wherein I have a on-prem network as well as Azure network, and I'm the common administrator to handle both. So what first of all, you will have, if it is the same organization setup on-prem and on cloud, you will establish a connectivity between these two data centers. That is the first thing you'll have to do. And how do I do that? And as I explained you, there are two options you can do.
Yeah.
This
Yeah. VPN
connectivity,
and express
you
route.
can do VPN site to site
Yeah.
connectivity, or you can do a express route,
Express route.
which is a point-to-point connection. It's a P2P direct connection, private connection. Correct? So the moment
Yes.
you have this connection established, your virtual network will be accessible from your on-prem network. So as an administrator, you can manage these servers, as well as you can manage these servers over the VPN and the express route connection.
Correct.
Is that clear?
Yes. 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 Got it.
Because these
Got it.
servers have private IPs on the Azure cloud, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
particular virtual network is accessible over your VPN connection, because you have established a connectivity between your on-prem and the cloud.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect. All good.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
Right. So yes, we reached our time today. That's the end of our session, and we'll continue tomorrow.
Okay. Done.
Right. Inshallah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Inshallah.
Thank you then.
Thank
Catch you
you.
tomorrow then. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.